Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and Dr. Mehmet Oz will face off Tuesday night in their first and most likely only debate in their race for the Senate. A Fox 29 Insider Advantage poll shows the two tied at 46%. Dr. Oz certainly feeling the pressure as he just donated $1 million to his own campaign from his personal fortune, which adds to the $7 million he donated last quarter alone. Fetterman has made clear that none of his campaign finances come from his personal accounts. Joining us now to discuss is senior national correspondent for News Nation and co-host of the upcoming debate, Brian Entin. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you with us. So obviously this race has gotten a lot closer. Some months ago, I think the wide perception was that Dr. Oz was not a particularly exciting candidate, even for many Republicans. Whether you fall into the anti-Trump or pro-Trump category, he's not really in a candidate exciting any aspect of the base. However, Fetterman has really, obviously had his health issues and has not been able to kind of make the case for himself, which my perception is has really allowed Dr. Oz to catch up. What are the expectations for this debate, given how little Fetterman has been able to, articulate his message since his health issues?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look back just a month or so ago, Fetterman was ahead by almost double digits. And you mentioned the recent polling. It's unbelievable. They are really neck and neck now. And I think you bring up the health issues. That clearly has something to do with things. We've been on the ground here for the last couple of days talking with voters about all the big issues. And Fetterman's health continues to come up over and over again. I think there are people who still feel like they don't really know what the situation actually is. Of course, there was that NBC interview where we see him giving speeches, but they're really, really interested to see how he does up on the debate stage. They're going to have the closed captioning. How is that going to work? Is he going to be able to understand the questions? Is there really going to be able to be a back and forth between him and Dr. Oz? It's something that voters are watching very, very closely right now.
So what accommodations, if any, has the campaign asked of you? Is that something that you're at liberty to share?
So we know that there will be closed captioning, and that's sort of the extent of it. So while the debate is happening, everything that is said out loud, whether it's what Dr. Oz says or what the moderators are asking, will be on a screen. The words will be on the screen for Fetterman to read. So that's the extent of sort of what they're doing for him at this point. And Dr. Oz has obviously agreed to it, too.
Well, former President Obama has gotten involved in the campaign, cutting multiple ads for the Fetterman campaign. In them, Obama touts Fetterman's support for a women's right to choose. And I know there was some criticism of Obama from Democrats that he hasn't done more already, given that he's a relatively popular figure, nationally, certainly among Democrats, arguably more so than a lot of kind of figureheads of the party thus far. Does Obama's endorsement or vocal support help in Pennsylvania lend credence to the Fetterman campaign?
Look, I think so. I mean, he's obviously a massive national figure. I don't think it's strange that he's held out to sort of the end. I think we've seen that happen in the past, a couple weeks to the midterms, a week out. He really starts getting behind candidates. We know he's going to be on the ground in some of these states, so I don't think that's unusual. You bring up women's rights, abortion, just talking with voters here, that is one of those things that comes up over and over again. And I think what's going to be interesting, which might work in Fetterman's favor, is you have women here, especially in the suburbs who we've talked to, who have been lifetime Republicans. They have never voted for a Democrat. They say they're going to vote for Fetterman. They're going to vote for a Democrat for the very first time, just because of the abortion issue.
And Brian, what is the tone people take when they discuss the health issues? I mean, I find that there's obviously these are important issues, but the tone of the attacks against him have been, I think, rather cruel. Has that come up at all? How do people talk about this on the ground?
Yeah, I think that it's such a touchy issue, and it's hard to get people to talk about. And we've talked to people on both sides, and I think both sides sort of feel somewhat offended. people who are pro-life obviously feel like their voice isn't getting out there as much, and I call them almost like closet pro-lifers. There's a lot of women around who are pro-life, who have friends who are pro-choice, who aren't going to come out and respond to polls, and they're not going to talk to the media about their stance, but they feel very passionately the way they do. Same with on the other side. It's just such a touchy issue. And you mentioned the ads. I think some women have been offended by them. I think they've also been offended by ads that attack Fetterman's health to a certain degree. You know, a lot of people have family members who have had strokes, who have had strokes themselves, and know about the recovery process and know that you can truly recover. And it's been interesting. Some people telling us, "Oh, I'm really concerned. I want to see what he does in the debate." Other people almost off-put when you even ask about Fetterman's health, saying, "Wait a minute, you know, that doesn't mean that he doesn't really understand what's going on or really understand the issues impacting our state."
You know, you mentioned voters who are going to vote for Fetterman, for a Democrat for the first time because of the abortion issue. Of course, we know that's working in reverse as well with some other issues. You know, we know there are Democrats and independents who are going to vote Republican for the first time, in particular because of frustration with schools, curriculum, and then crime, of course. Crime, I think, really taking kind of center stage in the last few weeks as the reality of statistics. Philadelphia, for instance, you know, has just obscenely high violent crime rate right now. Do you expect that to come up in the debate, and how are the candidates handling that issue?
100%, and I think you used the right word, obscene. It is insane here in Philadelphia, the crime situation. And I say that just totally unbiased. It's just statistics. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. If you live in this area, it is something that you deal with every single day. So many people who we've talked to have said it is issue number one. If you can't go outside your house and go to your kid's little league game or walk your kid to school and feel safe, I mean, what else could possibly be more important? And yes, there are Democrats who have never voted for Republican, but are so fed up with the crime here that they say they will vote Republican for the first time. The stats are insane. They had a record-breaking year for homicides last year, and they expect to beat it this year. 50% more violent robberies this year over last year. We spent a night out in Kensington, which is one of the neighborhoods in Philly where they've really seen an uptick in crime. I mean, people walk around with tourniquets in their purse because they're so used to finding gunshot victims. They have Narcan because of the overdoses. There's so many shootings that they don't even use ambulances 2/3 of the time. They have to put the victims in police cars and rush them to the hospital because there's not even enough ambulances. So I would say just being here, to me, it feels like that's issue number one in terms of what voters are thinking about.
Yeah, no question. Well, all right, Brian, where can we watch the debate on Tuesday?
Yeah, News Nation tomorrow night. We're gonna have the debate. We'll have a pre-show, and then the debate is tomorrow night. It's going to be the only debate that they do, so it'll be certainly very, very interesting to watch. Which I also want to mention is something that I've found frustrates voters, that there's only one debate. We've seen that in other states too. You can only get so much out of one debate. They say, why aren't there two or three? Obviously, there's a lot going on behind the scenes with Fetterman and Dr. Oz when it comes to that, though.
Good question. All right, thank you so much, Brian. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.
And we'll have more Rising right after this.